On trail at Lankey. Although the stretch between Stainton and Kendal has been filled in, it is possible to follow the route of this fascinating canal right into its terminus at Kendal Canal Head. On a cold and crisp early spring morning we set off to do just that. The start of the water-filled section begins at Stainton, and that is where we once again begin our journey, this time in the opposite direction. We have no maps or compasses, we're just going to follow the canal to see how far it will lead us, and at Stainton we find our first clue. Here's a signpost clearly pointing towards Kendal, and I pose beside it for the start of our journey. This is the view looking over the parapet of the bridge towards Lancaster, but looking in the opposite direction we can see the lie of the old canal leading away across the field. So we follow the signpost and walk under the bridge and over the stile. Although filled in, the route of the canal can clearly be followed and the view is inviting, encouraging us to follow it. What history and mysteries will we uncover on our journey? Our cairn terrier Harvey came with us on our walk, and he uncovered his own mysteries rooting among the leaves left from last autumn. Here's a rabbit warren right in the base of the canal bed. No sign of the rabbits though, they were long gone. A mile into our walk we reach a stile and a road. There is now no sign of the canal, it seems to have dried up, if you'll forgive the pun. There is, however, another signpost, and the way forward appears to be under the A590, so we set off through the tunnel. At the other side we find more signposts. One of them says Lancaster. Could this lead to the tunnel we've heard so much about? We set off up the path to find out. Very quickly the mouth of a tunnel came into view, and this was the famous Lancaster Tunnel, built to take the canal close to Sedgwick Gunpowder Works. At 378 yards long the tunnel is a historic monument, and the West Coast Main Line runs over the top. We sat a while on specially made benches before trying to find a way to the other side. Since we cannot go through the tunnel we must find the horse path and go over the top. We took the steps up to the horse path and found tunnels through which the horses would have been led. These are also listed as an ancient monument. The horse path takes us up and over the fields, and eventually we find ourselves walking downhill, and a path at the side of a cottage takes us down to the other entrance of the tunnel. Here another signpost points the way, but we decide to stay a while. There's more scope here at this side for exploring the tunnel mouth and the canal bed itself. Among the snowdrops and last year's leaves there is a battered, partially legible sign stating that we must not enter the tunnel, but we couldn't resist a quick peek. The tunnel itself still holds water, just a few inches deep. It was built with no towpath, and boats were propelled through the tunnel by men lying on their backs and legging along the wall, or by pulling a rope which was connected to the wall by iron rings, which are still visible today. It's very peaceful here, and we envied the people who live in the nearby cottage. But I'll bet it was a lot different during the canal's heyday. Climbing out to the tunnel mouth we read the ancient monument sign, one of which is mounted on each portal. Our curiosity satisfied, we turned our attention back to our walk towards Kendal, and with one last look at the tunnel we set off round the sharp right-hand bend which the canal route takes. We soon found ourselves on a small woodland path. We were on an embankment and it was a pleasant walk, but soon the noise of traffic intruded on our thoughts and we found ourselves walking alongside the A590. A signpost soon directed us off the canal towpath and onto the road. Bewildered, we followed it. The road went on and on while we watched the canal embankment further and further away from us. Eventually we concluded that we were lost. I ran back up to the embankment and tried to follow it further, but the trail just petered out. As canal detectives it seemed we were hopeless. 2 miles down the canal bed and we had lost it completely. We decided to follow the sign pointing to Kendal, and this took us over the A590. Standing on the bridge we could see that the canal embankment had been sliced in two by this road and that this was the only way to follow the canal bed. Here I found a sign pointing our way and we followed it through the gate. We found ourselves in a field full of sheep, but where was the canal? Not a sign of anything. Were we still lost? We scanned with binoculars and saw an unusual sight. A bridge in the middle of a field? What was this? Sure enough, a bridge in the middle of a field. We had been standing on the canal all the time. The bed itself has been filled in and is being used as pasture land for livestock. We reached the bridge and found it fenced off to keep the sheep in, but there was a kissing gate for us to go through. This was Sedgwick Hall Bridge, and on the other side we found ourselves back in woodland. After a pleasant stroll through this woodland, we found ourselves on a high bridge. The information board we found here told us that we were now on Sedgwick Aqueduct, and it is also listed as an ancient monument. We were intrigued and stopped to take a closer look. The aqueduct is built on a skew, hence the strange shape, and together we walked all around it. It is possible to access the road from both sides of the aqueduct. The steps down were quite steep, but fascinating. We took the sloped path back up to the canal as we thought it would be easier on our legs. Here is a view of the aqueduct from the slope. We found this plaque among the snowdrops at the side of a small weeping willow tree. Back on the canal again, we explored the aqueduct itself. The canal bed is dry and full of dead grass and weeds, but I went down to take a further look. I found what looked like wooden steps into the canal. You could see them more clearly looking upwards. This, together with what looked like a railway platform, indicated that goods may have been loaded and unloaded here. I also found scarlet cup fungus growing in the rotting wood. Saying goodbye to the aqueduct, we walked down the path with what looked like a car park and a junkyard on the right hand side where the canal used to be. This gradually petered out into gardens belonging to houses built on the canal side. Through a gateway, and we were back chasing bridges in open fields once again. This one is Horse Park Bridge. It's a strange sight to see a bridge just sitting in the middle of a field. Another gate, another patch of woodland, and what a pleasant walk that was. As you can see, the canal bed, or what's left of it, is on our right hand side. A fallen tree crosses our path, but Harvey marks the way through quite clearly. Here the route of the canal can be seen very easily as we approach another bridge. This is Larkrig Hall Bridge, and the depth of the canal can clearly be seen here. We stopped to admire its solid ivy-covered structure before passing through and finding ourselves in open country again. There is no sign of the canal route, so we follow our instincts and keep walking. We chose a good time of the year to follow this trail. Had we come in high summer, no doubt the many walkers might have spoilt the photographs, but we were lucky today as we followed the trail over stiles and through fields, all the while heading nearer to Kendal. Yet another bridge comes into view and Harvey leads the way under it. This is Crow Park Bridge. At Natland Hall Bridge, the farmers have built a wall across the canal, but there's a stile to let us through. Alan and Harvey walk side by side along the old towpath. The dip which signifies the lie of the old canal can clearly be seen on the right. On the approach to Natland Road Bridge, we came across what looked like a council gravel store where the old canal used to be. Both Alan and Harvey decided this was as good a place as any to rest a while. Once I'd got the boys moving again, we crossed Natland Road Bridge and entered the path opposite. We soon entered more woodland and found our path leading under Natland Mill Bridge. It was a quiet and mysterious place, and I could almost sense the ghosts of the past. The clip-clop of horses' hooves, the shouts of the bargemen. As we passed under the bridge and walked through the woodland, we had it all to ourselves. At the end of the path was Highgate Bridge, and we had to cross the main road here and back down the other side. Now we were on the outskirts of Kendal, and the path was tarmacked for easier walking. Kendal Change Bridge quickly came into view, and as we approached I could see this was a bridge with a difference. At this point the canal towpath changed sides, and to help the horses there is a slope up which they were led and down to the other side. This could all be done without the horses being untethered, and is unique in Cumbria. At the other side of Change Bridge, a large car park stands where the canal once flowed, and we followed the path onward, heading for the town and the canal head. We crossed a road and followed the path onward. Eventually we came to a bridge which had been painted. This was called Kendal Castle Bridge, but we missed the significance of this at first. We pushed on knowing we were near our destination of Kendal Canal Head and the very beginning of the Lancaster Canal. What were we going to find there? What we did find was a shock and a complete anticlimax. Kendal Canal Head is now a recycling site, a place where everybody brings their rubbish. Is this a fitting end to such a lovely canal? I think not, and I'm sorry Kendal did not see fit to treat the area with more reverence. Disappointed, we searched the area and found only 2 references to the canal in the adjoining streets. We felt the canal had almost disappeared into obscurity. Since we did not wish to end our journey in such a disappointing way, we decided to explore the site on the hill above Canal Head and the significance of the name Kendal Castle Bridge. The bridge itself carries the interestingly named Parr Street over the canal and up to the boundary on Castle Hill. At the top of the hill is Kendal's best kept secret, a castle. Granted a ruined one, but even ruined castles have history, and I love exploring old buildings, so up the hill we went. The castle was built in the late 12th century and was inherited by the Parr family in the late 15th, early 16th century. Catherine Parr, of course, became the 6th wife of Henry VIII. She is reputed to have been born here, but this is not confirmed. By 1572 the castle had fallen into a sad state of disrepair and is currently in the care of English Heritage. Funds from the National Lottery have enabled stairs to be built to allow public access to safer parts of the ruins. The castle is open to visitors during daylight hours and there is no entrance fee. Not a lot to see, but worth a visit if you like old castles. Kendal obviously thinks more of its castle than of Canal Head, which can clearly be seen from Castle Hill. A sad end to such a lovely canal.